Welcome, dear friends, to the Taviren, a Wheel of Time podcast hosted by three gentlemen for whom the very wheel itself bends around. Without further ado, here are your hosts, Bill, Rob, and Rich.
And welcome back to the Taviren, a Wheel of Time podcast. My name is Rob.
And I'm Rich.
And Bill is...
Still not here.
Oh, no. Guys, we are sorry. We tried to get all three of us together. Last week, Bill told us sorry. He forgot he had a job. Believe it or not, this week he says, sorry, I forgot I had a wife and child.
Yeah. He says he forgot.
And the ironic part is, you know what the ironic part is, Rich?
What's that?
We are recording on Memorial Day. The two Americans are working, and the Englishman has taken a holiday.
I know.
Isn't that crazy? So how you been?
Good. You know, survived a tornado.
Oh my gosh! Everyone okay? I hope.
Oh yeah, everything's good.
Okay.
It's weird. Doesn't happen here where I'm from, but you know, it's okay. Everything's all right. Didn't have internet for a couple days. That's why we've had some problems. Setting up time to record, but everything's good now. I think we're back to normal.
I'm glad everybody's safe and sound.
Oh yeah.
So once again, this is a Wheel of Time podcast. Rich and I will try to reduce the amount of times we talk about Game of Thrones and MCU, but no promises.
No, I started watching it, so.
Oh, Game of Thrones?
I have. I'm on season 2.
Oh, don't get me started. I don't want to get in trouble again. So try to stay on point.
Okay, sorry.
So one thing we do have one new iTunes review.
What?
Yeah, we do. It's from, pay no attention to the name, it's from nlennon01. It's called Awesome. It says, good podcast, keep up the good work. So thanks a lot, nlennon01, which also happens to be my son, but we're not going to say that online.
I was like, wait a minute, that sounds familiar to me.
I'll edit that out.
That's okay.
So, we are up to Chapter 5, Winternight. And as we mentioned before, this is the chapter where the shit gets real.
Yes, it does.
All right?
Yeah.
So, Rich, why don't you... I'm being good. That's 2 now. 2 Riches. I stopped, but I got your name right. I know. I'm trying.
I'm so proud of you.
Thank you. So why don't you get us going here, Chapter 5? What do you think?
All right. So, Chapter 5, guys, is... I forget. What's the title? Winternight. Yeah, Winternight. All right, so we last see all the characters kind of retiring for the night. Everybody's going back to their homes. We've seen all the Gleemen. We've seen Moraine and the Warder. The boys are all communicating. They've talked about this mysterious Dark Rider. Now they've gone home. So Rand and Tam. This is kind of just them talking and. Going back home from the Two Rivers, and they're out in a small farm on the outsides of town. If you look clearly at if you read some of the books and you kind of get a lay of the land, they have the center of the town, which is where everybody and the marketplace is in, everything, the shops are all located there. But a lot of the farm are on the outskirts of this area and the surrounding towns. So they're not all centralized, if I'm reading that correctly.
Yeah, and I also had a notation. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you're good. Go for it.
I was just going to say I had a notation here that, farmlands in the Two Rivers stay within the family for generations and generations. Families pass down to families to families. Things don't change much in the Two Rivers.
Nope. So, what I want to say, because I don't want to get too far in here, Tam is, cooking dinner, retrieves a sword. He gets the sword from under his bed for some reason. Not really sure why he does that. But, it makes Rand kind of question a few things and puts him a little on edge. So,
the sword is a heron-branded sword.
Yep.
Which we don't know how important that is. Rand notices the heron, but doesn't notice how important the heron branding is. And he goes on to hear Tam's story about the sword. And he, I don't know, some marketplace. I paid 2 coppers for it. I don't know, Rich. Seems fishy to me.
I mean, 2 coppers, I think, is not very much.
No, not for a sword.
No,
that's a big deal. 2 coppers would have been a steal.
Yeah.
Assuming
Well,
he's
and
telling
then
the truth.
yeah, and then we don't find out later what the importance of that sword is. So it's a while for us to figure out like why that sword holds any prominence of anything. So
Exactly.
we're not going to spend too much time on the sword. It's just a sword. It's a good design sword and something that you wouldn't find in a marketplace normally.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens next?
Well, my next note literally says Jordan brings the action to the reader without no warning. We get our first glimpse of Trollocs.
Yes, Trollocs. So, ladies and gentlemen, the Trollocs are basically beastmen. They're not human. They're very grotesque, kind of animal-looking monsters.
Any animal. They could be bullish in appearance. They could be sort of birdish in appearance. They could be feathers. They could be fur. It's almost like it's just the leftover remnants of whoever made these, just kind of plastered them all together and said, all right, go serve evil,
Yeah. Now, again, we talked about this. Trollocs was a rumor. These things were all rumors up in the north, way up north past the wall, which hint kind of has a feel of Game of Thrones.
Some other show we're not.
Yeah. But anyways, so it's very surprising to see Trollocs this far down, especially in Emmons Fields and the Two Rivers, because if you remember correctly, everyone, that area, there's a huge space between the two of them. I'm talking hundreds of miles.
So the thought was, well, how do they get so far south?
Yeah,
without any notice from anyone.
Yeah, so that is something that puts a weird thought in a lot of people's minds. But let's kind of go into what's happening at that place. So Rand actually, sees Tam fighting them off. So it's kind of weird to see his father fighting off some Trollocs and killing a couple of them.
Yep.
But also seeing his father get wounded and everything.
And Tam hollers out the order, out the door, boy, get out. I got this. Go. And against Rand's better judgment, because his impulse is to stay and fight with his father.
Yeah.
He makes
but
it
that
out
would have
the
killed
window.
them both.
Yes. Yeah. But, in that moment, you're not thinking that. You're just thinking, my father, I need to be there for him. But he's hollering, you got to get. So, luckily, he had his wits about him, and he listened to it, and he got out the window.
Yeah.
So he felt shame, but it was the right move. So
this is back in the day when children listened to their parents.
Oh.
And didn't backtalk.
Don't get.
And just go, you know what? I'm going to do this. You can't tell me what to do, and then you get stabbed in the face by a Trolloc.
It would have been a very short book series.
Yeah, it would have been very short. Anyways, so after seeing his father get hurt, and he finds a way to get him out, they go into the woods. They're kind of hiding from the Trollocs that are chasing around the farm.
I had a couple quick notes. So Rand makes it out. He starts to. I guess he also wants to check their sheep pit, their sheep area, and the barn. So one note I have on here is he gets to the barn and he sees Bella is missing, and I know that this is one of Bill's favorite characters in the whole series is Bella. So this is part of his what he called Bella Watch. So you have Bella missing, and now we don't know if she made it out alive or if she became Trolloc fodder. We don't know. So I know that when Bill was reading this passage, he was probably worried for Bella most of all.
Yeah.
So
I forgot about that.
Bill would have been very
he'd have been very upset with that.
Yeah.
So the idea on the Trollocs, everyone. So Trollocs are, like I said, they're the beastmen, whatever animal there is, but they're not really subtle in what they do. They just destroy and eat everything. It's
just destruction, mayhem, carnage, just left in their wake. There's no rhyme or reason. It's just whatever's in front of them is just demolished.
Yep. So I don't know. Bella to me seems to be.
The cart was in I think the cart was in shambles. He'll make use of that later. The sheep were decimated, but Bella was missing. There was no body, so Bella is presumed missing at large. So I guess at this point, Rand, Tam is able to make it out, reunite with Rand, Rand says, okay, I have to wait a while, let the Trollocs do their thing, and then I have to go back in to find some supplies. I have to find anything in the house.
Yep.
So Rand then goes back into the house, and I have here on my notes, he encounters Narg. Narg, the smartest Trolloc.
Yes. That is actually funny.
Narg shows that Trollocs are not just mindless, but can actually use reason and logic. And as Narg says, he goes, people always come back, so Narg play dead.
Yeah.
So.
And then I think, if I remember right, Rand tries to negotiate. I don't know if trying to negotiate, but kind of like tries to talk to him. Doesn't work.
No. Well, one thing I forgot to mention is Rand goes back into the house. He does have Tam's sword with him.
Yes.
So Narg is saying, put the sword down. We'll talk. You and I will talk. Put the sword. You don't need the sword. Put it down. We'll have a cup of coffee. We'll talk. We'll schmooze. All that stuff. And first off, Trolloc is a walking nightmare.
Yeah, it's pretty big.
They didn't exist 10 minutes ago. However long ago. Now he's not only standing in front of one, having a conversation with it. And to add fuel to the fire, Narg mentions our first Myrddraal. He says, put the sword down, Myrddraal outside, he wants to have a talk with you. And then that, nightmares upon nightmares upon nightmares now.
Yeah.
Because the stories that he heard about Trollocs was one thing, but the stories that you heard about Myrddraals is a whole other realm of evil and just wrong.
Them scary.
Very scary. So, I guess Rand decides to play off of Narg, and he says, okay. He starts to slowly put the sword down. He says, okay, I'll talk. And Narg takes that opportunity to pounce on him, but luckily Rand brings the sword back up just in time to impale Narg. So our smartest Trolloc only lasts a few pages of a text, so.
Yeah, he gets the sword rammed through his chest by accident.
By accident and sheer coincidence of luck that he timed it just right. But Rand gets his first kill.
Yeah.
So.
I count it.
Yeah, that's his first kill. I mean, we'll get to certain parts of this book where we can't keep track of how many deaths Rand causes, but this was his official first. But Rand is able to go through the house. It's just almost completely just decimated, if not by just damage, by the overall stench and decay that just Trollocs bring with them. But he was able to find some blankets and a few other basic necessities, and he was able to go back to the barn, and I guess he puts a makeshift, something that he'll be able to move Tam around in.
Yeah, like a cart. No, not a cart. A hammock thingy.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. Rand was able to cobble together a litter, that's the word, a litter to help Tam get back to Emmons Field. Rand commented that the sword was able to hack through wood. That was it. He used Tam's sword to hack at the cart to make the litter, and Rand thought was basically ruining the sword now. But it seems that the sword was still as sharp as before, even after hacking through the wood to make the litter. So, to Rand, this means now this really is no ordinary sword. There's something special about this sword. If you're able to hack through wood, and the blade does not dull. So, to me and to Rand, there's something about this sword that Tam wasn't being on the up and up about. But
yeah, it's a special sword, special material.
It is.
Kind of way.
And that's where this chapter ends. We got our first bit of action. We got our first drop of Trollocs, Rand's first kill, the first mention of Myrddraal, and we leave the chapter. Rand is back to Tam. His wound does not appear to be severe, but he's starting to waver in and out of consciousness at this point, which will lead us into the next chapter.
He's getting a little feverish.
Feverish, yep. And as we'll see, when we get to the preview, we'll talk about that. But what do you think about this chapter, Rich?
I liked it. I mean, it's got a lot of fast-paced movement to it. You see, obviously, the Trollocs. You kind of get introduced into some of the misfortune that's going on. The Trollocs are not just legends. Myrddraals are Just Not Legends as well. I guess the war in the north is finally coming to the south, is what.
You would believe that, but then again, how could Trollocs make it so far south without any notification from any of the other kingdoms?
Yeah, and that does get explained later on in the book and everything. But I mean, you're seeing that Emmons Field and the Two Rivers is no longer just out of reach of what's going on. It's
Correct.
all it's coming to them. There's something going on. Why would there be Trollocs and Mordrals and I don't know. Did they mention that an Aes Sedai is actually in Emmons Field?
That was a rumor.
Okay,
the Trollocs and Mordral do not know that Moiraine is there.
Okay,
else
so
they might have come with a larger force.
Yeah, so you've got potential of the rumors of an Aes Sedai there. You've had that mysterious black cloak. So a lot of weird things have happened last day for the boys in Emmons Field and Two Rivers. So it's like a lot of things are happening as they would probably say, as the wheel turns.
The wheel weaves as the wheel wills.
Yes.
There were two literary points in this chapter that I remembered from my first read through. First, and I kind of mentioned it earlier, the reader gets real knowledge that the action is going to happen. Jordan brings the action without warning. It happens so quickly that we're just as surprised as Rand is that there's Trollocs in my house. How that happened.
Yep.
And then secondly, when Rand goes back in, it's almost unceremoniously how Jordan describes Nard getting up from the pile of dead Trollocs, and unceremoniously, all of a sudden, without warning again, Rand is now face to face with a Trolloc. That would be in the grand scheme of things, that would be a major literary step to go through. But I love the way Jordan makes it kind of unceremonious. And slowly Nard stands up, and all of a sudden now you're face to face with a Trolloc.
Yep.
I love the way he kind of counteracts the severity of the situation with how unceremoniously he creates it. That's in my taste. That's kind of the literary themes I like to see, kind of playing around with the reader's emotions like that.
Mm-hmm. He does a good job doing that, introducing that character.
Mm-hmm.
Only for a brief moment of that character being alive, but I mean, does a good job.
And that takes us into our readings with Rob section, which I did take Rand's encounter with Nard, the smartest Trolloc. So, and I'd like to think that for this chapter, there is some actual Trolloc language in this passage, and I joked that I say I took 2 years of Trolloc at the local college in preparation for this reading. So hopefully my Trolloc comes off as authentic.
Yes.
So here we go. Readings with Rob.
And now, the Taviren present to you Readings with Rob.
He ran in through the front door and stopped, gagging at the stench. A stable that had not been mucked out for months was the only thing that he could think of that might come close to matching it. Vile spears defiled the walls. Trying to breathe through his mouth, he hurriedly began poking through the mess on the floor. There had been a water bag in one of the cupboards. A scraping sound behind him sent a chill to his marrow, and he spun. Almost falling over the remains of the table, he caught himself and moaned behind teeth that would have chattered had he not had them clenched until his jaw ached. One of the Trollocs was getting to its feet. A wolf's muzzle jutted out below sunken eyes. Flat, emotionless eyes, and all too human. Hairy, pointed ears twitched incessantly. It stepped over one of its dead companions on sharp goat hooves. The same black mail the others wore rasped against leather trousers, and one of the huge, scythe curved swords swung at its side. It muttered something, guttural and sharp, then said, "Others go away. Narok stay. Narok smart." The words were distorted and hard to understand, coming from a mouth never meant for human speech. Its tone was meant to be soothing, he thought, but he could not take his eyes off the stained teeth, long and sharp, that flashed every time the creature spoke. Narok know some come back sometimes. Narok wait. You need no sword. Put sword down. Until the Trolloc spoke, Rand had not realized that he had held Tam's sword waving before him in both hands, its point aimed at the huge creature. It towered head and shoulders above him, with the chest and arms to dwarf Master Luhan. "Narg no hurt." It took a step closer, gesturing. "You put sword down." The dark hair on the back of his hands was thick like fur. "Stay back," Rand said, wishing his voice were steadier. Why did you do this? Why?" The snarl quickly became a toothy smile. "Put sword down. Narg no hurt. Murderer want talk you." A flash of emotion crossed the distorted face. Fear. "Others come back. You talk murderer." It took another step, one big hand coming to rest on its own sword hilt. "You put sword down." Rand wet his lips. Murderer. The worst of the stories were walking tonight. If a fate was coming, it made Trolloc pale by comparison. He had to get away, but if the Trolloc drew that massive blade, he would not have a chance. He forced his lips into a shaky smile. "All right." Grip tightening on the sword, he let both hands drop to his sides. "I'll talk." The wolf smile became a snarl, and the Trolloc lunged for him. Rand had not thought anything that big could move so fast. Desperately, he brought his sword up. The monstrous body crashed into him, slamming him against the wall. Breath left his lungs in one gasp. He fought for air as they fell to the floor together, the Trolloc on top. Frantically, he struggled beneath the crushing weight, trying to avoid thick hands groping for him, and snapping jaws. Abruptly, the Trolloc spasmed and was still. Battered and bruised, half suffocated by the bulk on top of him. For a moment Rand could only lie there in disbelief. Quickly he came to his senses, though enough to writhe out from under the body at least. And body it was. The bloodied blade of Tam's sword stood out from the center of the Trolloc's back. He had gotten it up in time after all. Blood covered Rand's hands, and a blackish smear across the front of his shirt. His stomach churned, and he swallowed hard to keep from being sick. He shook as hard as he had in the worst of his fear, but this time in relief at still being alive.
That was Readings with Rob. If there's a passage in an upcoming chapter you wish to have read on the podcast, simply tweet us at TavirenPod with your request.
And that was Readings with Rob. Like I said, I hope Narg down at the Daily Trolloc appreciates my attempt to give voice to his character. So
I'm sure he's totally fine with it.
I hope so too. So once again, if you for the best and latest in daily Wheel of Time news, check out thedailytrolloc.com.
The Daily Trolloc. That's probably a website, but it may be like a dirty website.
No, that's the name of his website.
Oh wait, I'm dumb. Sorry, but it sounds like it'd be a dirty one. Sorry.
No,
who runs that website again?
That's Narg.
Narg runs that. Oh,
yeah. He's got the good source for up to date news on the TV series. Not just actors castings, but administrative staff on the Amazon they have hired. So it's a great site. And only dirty because he's a Trolloc. He tries to keep clean, but he's a Trolloc. What are you going to do?
Yeah, that's true. All the dirtiness. That just made me laugh. I was like, wait, that's a real website all of a sudden? No, it's not. Anyways, all right. Well, if we had Bill here, this would be so much fun just to poke fun at things like that.
Oh, my God. Bill, we need you, buddy. You can't go 3 in a row without you.
I mean, eventually it's going to turn into just our podcast.
Hey, I might have to just edit him out altogether.
No, we can't do that. He's the reason that brought us together. We got to keep him there.
He's the glue.
Yeah,
he's the sticky glue amongst all the pieces that we need.
Yep.
So, Rich, next week we have the Westwood chapter. And as I have a notation here, a chapter for those who are reading the series over again. Obviously, your first reading, Tam had his fever dreams, and he says a lot of things, and you may or may not know what those things mean, but to someone who's read the whole series, to someone who's read this series and comes back, he's like, oh, I see what George was doing here. I like the way he did this. So, hopefully, and I said it last week, I'm going to say it again this week. I'm putting my foot down. All three of us are going to complete the circle and be on this podcast.
Okay.
If I got to get on a plane and head over to the pond and sit down in front of Bill and say, put the mic in his face and say, talk, I'm doing it.
Fine with
happening. Maybe whack him around with him, but for general stupidity. But guys, we're going to complete the circle next week. I promise you.
Yes.
So, as always, if you want to continue the conversation, you can tweet us out at TavierNPod. Rate and review the podcast. Give us some love. We appreciate all the love we receive, but always willing to accept more criticism in any form.
Yeah, and even if you guys want to give us ideas on different topics and segments of the show, I mean, right now the show is still in the very basic baby stage of what we're doing. But
yes,
things can change. I mean, the other shows that me and Bill have done have changed over the time. It just takes active listeners and you guys giving us feedback. So we appreciate that.
Yep, exactly. And if there's any counters that you wanted to add, I know we're racking up the counters, but if there's anything that you wanted us to keep track of, feel free to reach out with your request, and we'll see what we can do to fit you in.
Yes.
All right, guys.
And where can they reach you, Rob? Where can they reach you personally?
Well, they can reach me through my website, Digging Deep Sports. I have a separate website that's dedicated, nothing with Wheel of Time, but is more of a sports game-related website. That's DIGGIN, diggingdeepsports.com.
All right.
I know they can reach you at HaleBlue1569.
Yeah.
And the other guy at Matunica.
I can't even spell that. I'm sorry. You can find it through the podcast. You listen to our other podcasts, but it's you'll find it.
Yep.
It's easy to get. We tag him on everything.
Phrasing.
Yes.
Okay. I think that's about it for me. I'm going to leave it right there.
All right, guys. We'll see you next time in the next chapter of The Westwood.
And we will see you at the Wine Spring Inn. Take care, guys.
Thank you for listening.
Bye.
If you want to continue the conversation, tap into the One Power and contact us on Twitter at TavierNPod. You can also contact Bill at Matunica and Rich at HaleBlue1569. You can also reach Rob at his website, diggingdeepsports.com. And, as always, we will see you at the Wine Spring Inn.
Here's to another great podcast, gentlemen. Cheers! Ah, damn it, Bill, not again! Brad, can you get another round of pints for me and the boys? Yes, again. No, Bill this time. Thank you, Brad, much appreciated. Now, where were we, men? Actually, I believe it's Rich's turn at the Stones table. What's that you say? No, I don't think old Set'll have that, Rich.
I'm Evan, and I sure enjoy me some podcasts. Wow, this podcast sure is enjoyable. But sometimes, life has a little bit more pegged on for you than what you thought. Oh man, is that a missile? I'm okay. Thoughtscast, part of the We Can Make This Work Probably podcast network.
This has been a presentation
of the We Can Make This Work
Probably Network.
Follow us on Twitter
at Probably Work for more of our questionable content. Also, we have a website called probablywork.com.